Whether you're a first-time mom or a seasoned maternal warrior, hearing somebody talk about their birth story can be encouraging and empowering, especially if you're preparing for labor. Today, I want to share my positive birth experience of my second baby. Hey, it's me, the Mama NP. I'm a family nurse practitioner and now an aspiring YouTuber. I'm a mama of 3 and maybe soon to be a mama of 4. I'm here to share my thoughts and personal experiences with mommyhood so we can all learn from each other and help each other grow. So this was a surprise pregnancy. Wasn't planning on getting pregnant. I have 2 teenagers already, so didn't really know how this was going to go. We weren't using any type of hormonal contraceptives because I don't respond well to hormones of any form really, unless they're my own. I figured, I have enough training and medical background to, understand the signals in my body. I thought I could track naturally. Well, thankfully, it was a really smooth pregnancy. I had really minimal pregnancy-related issues, minimal nausea. I was pretty tired, had some constipation, the normal run-of-the-mill, but like mild pregnancy symptoms. Since this was my second childbirth, I wanted to do things a little bit differently than I did with my first. I was a teen mom to begin with, so I didn't really have any experience with anything. I didn't know what my options were. And then I had gone into labor at 30 weeks. So I was in the hospital for almost 2 months before my first baby was born. Because of that experience and being in the hospital for so long, I was like, I don't want to be in pain. I deserve to have an epidural. So I got an epidural. Great. And everything was fine. I had a smooth delivery then, a smooth recovery. I don't even remember my postpartum period. But this time around, I wanted to try without having pain medication. I wanted to go as naturally as possible, partially because I wanted to test my limits and see kind of what I was capable of, what my body could do on its own, but also because I felt like I had a lot of internal trauma, things that I hadn't fully worked through associated with being a teen mom before. And some crazy part of me thought, well, if I can feel the pain, maybe it would be sort of like therapeutic and help me work through some things that I wouldn't be able to put into words. Don't know if that really happened or not. I had everything prepped ridiculously early. I packed my bags. We had the car seat ready, like at 30 weeks, because I didn't know if I was going to go into labor again early. Around 35 weeks, I started having signs of prodromal labor. I was getting regular contractions every, 5 to 8 minutes or so. This was happening like every day from about 6 p.m. to about the time I went to bed, like 11 or so. And every night I was like, is this it? Is this real labor? Am I really going to meet my baby tonight? And then nothing would happen. I even went and had cervical checks to see if maybe I was just in a slow early labor. Nope, nothing. I was like 1.5. So, okay, I just had to be patient a little bit longer, which was really hard to do by the time you're at the end of your 3rd trimester. I did finally end up going into labor at 39 weeks and 5 days. The day I went into labor, I spent a good portion of the day doing the miles circuit. Basically, what the miles circuit is 3 activities/positions that you do to kind of help position the baby correctly in your pelvis so that it puts pressure on your cervix so that labor starts. And so the first position, you're kind of like laying on your side with your leg up, and then you switch sides and the other leg's up. And then the second position is like an inversion where your hips are up in the air and your hands are like down on the ground and you're kneeling on your bed or on a couch or something like that. So it's a pretty awkward position to be in at 39 weeks. The last activity is doing lunges. Each activity is like 30 minutes long. So this was a whole ordeal and nothing happened other than the fact that like my hips were sore from doing lunges. Okay. So I went about the rest of my day kind of just as I normally would. We had dinner. I said goodnight to the girls. Then we got in bed. We watched the first episode of the first season of Ted Lasso that night, and I loved it. We went to bed around 11, and as soon as we turned off the lights, I started having contractions. Great, more prodromal labor. Started feeling the contractions, and they were like a 3 to 4 out of 10. It was very noticeable, but it wasn't painful. I wasn't miserable. I wasn't really even having to like breathe through them. But I got my contraction timer out and I just kind of laid in bed and flipped through Facebook and Instagram and counted my contractions. And then I got sleepy and I started dozing between them. But every time I felt a contraction, I kind of woke up and hit the button. I had hoped to listen to things like hypnobirthing podcasts or calming music, meditations, but instead I laid in bed and flipped through Instagram and napped in between contractions. At this time, still though, it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I was still like, is this labor? Is this just in my head? Is it going to slow down? Now at about 3:30 or so, I woke up and got out of bed and I went and called our doula. I had wanted a doula to kind of be there as a third party person to support me during labor in helping me not need an epidural. I didn't really feel like I needed a doula, but my husband wasn't going to be able to be in the room with me. And because of that, I thought it might be nice to have somebody there for me. Maybe. Unfortunately, my doula didn't answer her phone. Okay. Well, I called the hospital because we lived like 5 minutes away. They said, well, if you're comfortable at home, just stay home. And then if your water breaks or if you're starting to have more pain, then come in. Okay. So I got back in bed, counted more contractions. By this time, it was like almost 4:30. The contractions hadn't slowed down. They hadn't gotten worse, but they hadn't slowed down. So I woke up my husband and I said, you should probably get up and shower. I made sure all of our stuff was ready to go down to the car. I went down and I made coffee, had a peanut butter and jelly. And when I went downstairs to the kitchen, I noticed the contractions got a little bit stronger. Nothing crazy. We got in the car, we drove to the hospital, and on our way to the hospital, the first song that came on was Love Shack. Not the song that I thought I was going to listen to while I was in labor. So we got to the hospital, we got into triage around 5:15 or so. My husband brought all our stuff in, and at that point he had to leave. My husband was really supportive of my desire to be as natural as possible. However, he's really squeamish around medical stuff, so I decided that I didn't want him in the room. He went to the waiting room, and when they checked me, I was at 5 centimeters already. So I was like, yes, the work I've been doing at home actually is paying off. But then I noticed the contractions got stronger. I would say by the time my husband left the triage room, I was probably like 5 to 6 out of 10. So they took me to the labor room. I wanted to get in the tub so that I could relax a little bit. But by some weird coincidence, the tub that was in my labor room was already full, and it was full of cold water. The nurse was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So I had to wait in the bed for her to drain the tub, clean it, and then fill it with hot water. By then, I completely forgot basically everything that I had wanted to do. She had the IV in, and once she had started taking care of the tub, the contractions started coming on a lot stronger. And by now, it was about like 6 a.m. And I would say that I was having contractions every like 2 to 3 minutes. They were definitely more like a 7 to 8 out of 10. I was pretty uncomfortable. I was able to breathe through all of them fine, but I was fairly uncomfortable. About 6:15, 6:30 or so, I felt like I needed to urinate. So they came and they checked my cervix. I was about 9 centimeters at that point, and I was having contractions really close together, but I really needed to go to the bathroom. So in between contractions, I somehow was able to walk to the bathroom, void, and then on my way back, I had a contraction in between the bathroom and the bed. And I just had to stand there and breathe, and my water broke. It splashed out everywhere, all over the floor, all over the nice grippy socks they give you at the hospital. It was great. I will never forget that moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And all the nurses in their room were like, oh no, it's okay. This is great, blah, blah, blah. So they helped me back to the bed. They cleaned everything up. And like 5 minutes later, I needed to push. Before the doctor even was able to come back in the room, I had to start pushing. So they were like frantically trying to get the trays ready and all of the just in case type of instruments. And at this point, I was still breathing through my contractions. They were full body contractions at this point, like head to toe. Oh my gosh, this is really real. But I was doing it. I was super excited. Way deep down somewhere in the back of my mind, I was excited because I was honestly like barely able to think of anything besides, oh my gosh, my body. So the doctor rushed in, and 10 seconds after the doctor rushed in, I pushed, and then I pushed again, and she was born. During this whole time, I had my iPhone playing like a birth playlist that I had put together, and it wasn't very loud. I had completely neglected to use any of the coping strategies that I had wanted to, like essential oils and hypnobirthing meditations and positions, and, like counter pressure and stuff like that. But at least I had my music. And when my daughter was born, she was born to the song Sea of Love by Cat Power. And it was just magical. My husband came in a couple of minutes later. He was shocked that it went by so fast. He thought that they were coming out to just say, oh, things are going well, it's going to be a while. But nope, they brought him right in, and he was crying, and he got to hold the baby. And after all of that, I didn't cry at all. I had a first-degree laceration, no stitches needed. I was really afraid of tearing, but everything was super amazingly smooth. We had a wonderful golden hour. She latched right away. Then we were discharged from the hospital the following day. While I didn't get to have the experience that I planned on having, I'm so thankful that everything went as smoothly as it did, that the hospital staff was really supportive. Not once did anybody push or recommend or encourage any form of pain medication. The nurses were super encouraging. Every time a contraction hit, they were right there helping me breathe through. Somebody had a cool washcloth on my face. So even though my doula didn't make it, my husband wasn't there, I rocked my delivery. And I was so happy and so proud of myself for being able to do that. And now I have something to look forward to for my next experience. I don't know how to end this now. Thanks for watching my video. It's probably pretty obvious that I'm a YouTube newbie. I'm trying to think of a way to say like and subscribe without being too canned, but basically like and subscribe so my channel can grow. Till next time.